Rome wasn't born from peace. It wasn't born from greatness. It was born from exile, betrayal, and a single act of violence. Long before Rome was stone and marble, before laws and legions, the land beside the Tiber River was quiet. Hills rose gently from the plain, dotted with forests and scattered huts. Shepherds moved their flocks through the valleys. Traders crossed the river at shallow fords. No one yet knew this place would become the heart of an empire. But even then, it was already a crossroads. And crossroads are where stories begin. Italy, in those early centuries, was divided. Latins lived in the lowlands, Sabines in the hills, Etruscans to the north. They traded, fought, intermarried, and borrowed from one another. Power shifted constantly. No single city ruled them all. The land that would become Rome stood in the middle of this tension. It was defensible but open, fertile but modest, shaped for survival rather than luxury. And survival would become Rome's greatest strength. Romans believed their story began long before the city itself. Far across the sea, a great city had fallen. Troy burned, destroyed by war and betrayal. From its ruins fled survivors, led by a man who carried his father on his shoulders and his gods in his hands. After years of wandering and loss, they reached Italy. They arrived not as conquerors, but as outsiders forced to build again from nothing. Their leader settled among the local people, married into the land, and founded a royal line. This mattered because Rome believed it came from collapse, not comfort, from people who had already lost everything once. Generations later, power rested in the city of Alba Longa. Two brothers stood at the center of its fate. One was rightful, the other ambitious. The ambitious brother seized the throne and forced his rival's daughter into a sacred role that forbade children. But fate ignored his command. She became pregnant and claimed the god of war as the father. Fear followed. The king ordered the twins killed. They were placed in a basket and set upon the river. But the river did not drown them. It carried them safely to the bank, where a wolf found and fed them. Romans did not tell this story because it was gentle, but because it was true to how they saw themselves, raised by hardship, strengthened by danger, shaped by a world that did not protect the weak. The twins survived. A shepherd raised them. They grew among forests and flocks, learning to endure, to fight, to rely on each other. They were not raised as princes, but as survivors. As young men, they learned who they were. They returned to Alba Longa, overthrew the tyrant, and restored justice. But they did not stay. The hills by the river felt like home. They chose to build a city there. They argued over where it should stand. Signs were read. Tempers rose. The argument ended the way Rome always remembered its beginning. One brother killed the other. Rome never hid this moment. From the start, it told itself a hard truth. The city stood above the individual, law above blood, order above life. The surviving brother founded the city, traced its boundaries, and gave it a name: Rome. Rome did not begin with noble families. It began as a refuge for runaways, exiles, freed slaves, the unwanted. Anyone who swore loyalty could belong. This openness gave Rome strength, but also danger. The city lacked women. Without families, there would be no future. So Rome invited its neighbors to a festival. Trust was built. Then, at a signal, Roman men seized the women and carried them away. War followed, but when the armies met, the women ran between them, now wives, now mothers. They begged both sides to stop. Rome survived not by destroying its enemies, but by absorbing them. Over time, villages merged, paths became roads, customs became laws. Rome grew not through elegance, but discipline and adaptability. What mattered most was not how Rome began, but how it remembered its beginning. Romans told this story to explain who they were, a people shaped by conflict, bound by order, and never spared by destiny. And from that belief, Rome was born, not just as a city, but as an idea powerful enough to last 1,000 years.